Before I start, I need you to imagine being 25 years old, pregnant with your third child, and realizing the father of your children isn't just cheating. He's dismantling your life while you carry his baby. Hi, everyone. If you're new here, welcome. If you've been here before, thank you for listening. My name is Emily Carter. I'm 25 years old. I have 3 daughters. And this is how my husband destroyed our marriage and accidentally created a version of me he can never control again. I met Daniel when I was 18. He was 31. Back then, I thought that meant stability, maturity, protection. He had a deep voice. He knew how to talk. He made me feel chosen. Now, I understand something different. Men in their 30s who pursue teenagers aren't searching for equals. They're searching for admiration, for someone who won't question them. Daniel didn't have much. High school diploma, taxi driver, no savings, no apartment. When we got married, we moved into a condo my parents helped me purchase. It was technically mine, my name on the deed, my inheritance used for the down payment. But I let him call it ours, because I loved him. By the time I turned 25, I had 2 daughters, a 3-year-old and a 2-year-old, and I was pregnant again. Daniel wanted a son. He never said it bluntly at first. But when we found out the baby was another girl, something in him changed. He stopped coming to doctor appointments, stopped touching my stomach, stopped talking about the future. He started staying out late, picking up extra shifts. When I asked what was wrong, he said, "I just thought this time would be different." Different, as if our daughters were disappointments. Money became tight. He said business was slow, gas prices were high, customers weren't tipping. Meanwhile, I was 8 months pregnant, working remotely, part-time, raising 2 toddlers, cooking, cleaning, doing everything. He stopped helping at night. If I felt sick, he said I was dramatic. If I cried, he blamed hormones. I kept telling myself marriage had seasons, that this was temporary, that he would come back to himself. I was wrong. The loans started quietly. One night, Daniel came home, pale and tense. He said he had made a mistake. He told me he borrowed money from the wrong people, that he needed help paying it back quickly, that things could get dangerous if he didn't. I was 8 months pregnant. I had 2 toddlers sleeping down the hall. I didn't question him. I panicked. So I applied for a personal loan, $40,000. When that wasn't enough, I applied for another. By the time it was over, nearly $150,000 of debt sat under my name. He promised it would fix everything. He promised it was temporary. I believed him, because I thought that's what wives do. They support, they sacrifice, they protect the family. What I didn't know was that the money wasn't going to dangerous lenders. It was paying for hotel rooms, expensive dinners, alcohol, and a woman named Kayla. I found out by accident. Daniel left his phone on the kitchen counter while he showered. A message popped up. "Miss you already." My stomach dropped. I picked up the phone. Hotel confirmations, cash transfers, photos, 3 months of conversations, 3 months while I was pregnant. 3 months while I was taking out loans to save him. Her name was Kayla Brooks, 27. Worked at a bar. Always posting online about loyalty and real love. When I confronted him, he didn't deny it. He didn't even look ashamed. He said I wasn't getting what I needed at home. I had stitches from childbirth, a premature baby on the way, 2 toddlers climbing on me every day. And he was talking about needs. That was the moment something inside me shifted. Not anger, not screaming, clarity. He wasn't confused. He wasn't lost. He was selfish. And I had been funding it. A few weeks later, I went into labor early. 34 weeks. Stress does that to a body. My 3rd daughter, Lily, was born tiny, just over 3 pounds. She was rushed to the NICU before I could even hold her properly. Machines surrounded her. Monitors beeped constantly. Her entire hand wrapped around just one of my fingers. I sat beside her incubator for hours every day. Daniel came once. He stood there awkwardly, glanced at the machines, and then complained about the hospital parking fees. That was the moment I realized I was already alone. While Lily was in the NICU, doctors ran routine postpartum tests. That's when they found the infections, more than one. STDs I did not have before, including a high-risk HPV strain. I remember staring at the paper in my hand while my newborn fought to breathe beside me. When I confronted Daniel, he shrugged. "It's treatable," he said, as if he had brought home a cold. That was the day I stopped hoping. When I told my parents everything, I expected anger, protection. Instead, my father said, "You chose him." My mother said, "You need to think about your children," as if staying would somehow protect them, as if watching their father disrespect their mother would teach them love. I realized then that I couldn't rely on anyone to fix this for me. Not my parents, not Daniel, not fate. Meanwhile, Daniel started telling people I was unstable. He told coworkers I overspent. He told friends I cheated. I was home with a premature baby and 2 toddlers. And he was painting me as the villain. For a month, he lived with Kayla, using the money I borrowed, posting filtered photos about new beginnings. Meanwhile, I was juggling NICU visits, loan collectors, and sleepless nights. I didn't scream. I didn't beg. I was too tired. Tired enough to stop arguing and start thinking. The comeback was not romantic. It was practical. One evening, Daniel showed up at the condo with a suitcase. Kayla had changed. Apparently, she wasn't as understanding when the money stopped. He looked smaller somehow, less confident, like a man who had just discovered the world doesn't run on charm alone. He knocked softly. When I opened the door, he tried to hug me. I stepped back. He dropped to his knees. Actually dropped. Right there on the hallway floor. "We've been together 7 years," he said. "We have 3 kids. I made a mistake. A mistake. Not betrayal, not lies, not infections, not debt. A mistake." I looked at him and realized something terrifying. A month ago, I would have taken him back instantly. I would have forgiven him just to feel chosen again. But standing there, I felt nothing. Not love, not hate, just distance. And for the first time in years, that distance felt powerful. I didn't slam the door. I didn't scream. I said something much simpler. "You can't stay here." He blinked, confused. "This is my home." "No," I replied calmly. "It's not. The condo is legally mine. The loans were legally mine, too. The debt, the hospital bills, the damage, all under my name. But so was the property." He had nothing. No car anymore. He had sold it months ago. No savings, no backup plan. Kayla had lasted exactly 32 days after the money ran out. Love apparently has a budget. He tried guilt next. What about the girls? I looked past him into the quiet living room where my daughters were sleeping. They deserved better than this. For the first time, he didn't argue. He stood up slowly and walked away, not because he understood, but because he had nowhere else to go. The silence after he left felt strange, not peaceful, but clear. For years, my life had revolved around managing Daniel's moods, making sure he felt respected, making sure he felt admired, making sure he never felt less than. I shrank myself so he could feel bigger. That night, after I locked the door, I walked into the bedroom. His clothes were still in the closet, his shoes by the wall, his gaming console connected to the TV, and suddenly I felt angry. Not explosive anger, focused anger. I grabbed a suitcase. I packed everything that belonged to him. Every shirt, every charger, every pair of worn-out sneakers. The next morning, I called a lawyer. Not my parents, not a friend, a lawyer. And that was the real turning point. Because forgiveness is emotional, but paperwork is permanent. The lawyer's office smelled like coffee and paper. I brought a folder. Bank statements, loan agreements, medical records, screenshots. When I finished explaining everything, she leaned back and said, "You're not as trapped as you think." Daniel had no claim to the condo. The debt, unfortunately, mine. But infidelity, financial deception, and medical harm would not look good in court. She explained child support, custody, documentation. For the first time in months, I felt something unexpected, relief. Not because it would be easy, but because there was structure, a plan. I filed for divorce the next week. Daniel found out through official papers. He called immediately. "How could you do this?" The irony almost made me laugh. He accused me of ruining his reputation, of embarrassing him, of destroying our family. But families aren't destroyed by paperwork. They're destroyed by betrayal. and I was finally done protecting the image of a man who never protected me. While the legal process began, something else shifted inside me. I stopped hiding. For years, Daniel controlled how I dressed. No need for makeup. Why waste money on nails? Who are you trying to impress? After he left, I booked a hair appointment, then a manicure. Then I bought a dress I had once put back because he said it was too much. It wasn't about attracting attention. It was about reclaiming identity. I started posting again on Instagram. Nothing dramatic. Just small things. Coffee in the morning, a photo of Lily's tiny hand wrapped around mine, a mirror selfie where I looked alive. The comments surprised me. You look strong. Glow up. Proud of you. I wasn't trying to glow. I was trying to survive. But survival, apparently, has a shine to it. Daniel noticed. He sent a message. Already moving on? No, I wasn't moving on. I was moving forward. And there's a difference. Daniel didn't handle the divorce well. At first, he tried charm. Long messages about memories, photos from our early years, promises to change. When that didn't work, he switched tactics. Anger. He told mutual friends I was cold, that I turned the kids against him, that I cared more about money than family. The truth? He had moved back in with his mother. No car, no savings. Working warehouse shifts because the taxi company let him go after too many missed days. Kayla had already replaced him. I heard through someone that she posted a new boyfriend 2 weeks after kicking Daniel out. That part didn't hurt. What hurt was realizing how small his world really was. All those years, I thought he was the center, the leader, the authority. But outside my protection, he was just average. Meanwhile, I was managing 3 children, court dates, medical appointments, and debt payments. And somehow still standing. That contrast changed something in me. He wasn't powerful. I had simply made him comfortable. The hardest part wasn't the divorce. It was the quiet nights. When the girls were asleep. When the house felt too big. When doubt tried to creep in. Did I overreact? Should I have forgiven him? Was I too harsh? Trauma bonds are real. You don't just detach from someone you built your identity around. There were nights I cried, not because I wanted him back, but because I grieved who I thought he was. I grieved the version of my life I had imagined at 18. But grief is different from regret. And slowly, I started noticing something new. I wasn't walking on eggshells anymore. No one criticized my spending. No one monitored my clothes. No one blamed me for their failures. The condo felt lighter, even with debt, even with stress. Peace is expensive. But chaos costs more. And I had finally stopped paying for his. 6 months after filing for divorce, I barely recognized myself. Not physically, mentally. I had learned how to read contracts, how to negotiate payment plans, how to track every dollar. The same girl who once handed over her paycheck so he could feel like the man of the house was now meeting with financial advisors alone. I rebuilt my credit slowly. I picked up extra remote work during the girls' nap times. I stopped explaining myself to people who didn't understand why I left. And something unexpected happened. Men started noticing. At the grocery store, in my Instagram DMs, through mutual friends. I didn't entertain it. Not because I hated men, but because I was no longer desperate for validation. Loneliness had taught me something powerful. I would rather build a calm life alone than share chaos with someone who feels entitled to me. Daniel saw it too. During a custody exchange, he looked at me and said, "You've changed." I smiled politely. Yes, that was the point. If you had met me at 18, you would have seen a girl in love. Soft, devoted, certain that sacrifice meant loyalty. If you met me now at 25, you'd see something different. Not bitter, not broken, refined. Daniel thought betrayal would break me. He thought I would beg, cry, wait. Instead, I documented everything, filed paperwork, protected my daughters, and rebuilt. He wanted admiration. What he created was independence. He wanted obedience. What he created was boundaries. He wanted control. What he created was a woman who cannot be controlled again. Sometimes destruction is not the end. Sometimes it's exposure. And sometimes the worst thing someone does to you becomes the reason you never tolerate less again. My name is Emily Carter. I'm 25 years old. I have 3 daughters. And I survived the man who thought I couldn't survive without him. If you're listening to this and you're still in it, start planning. Quietly. Strength doesn't always scream. Sometimes it files paperwork and walks away.